So for me, when I'm working with the stones and, speaking with them, it's very like each stone has a different message, like a different perspective, I would even say, like a different story. And a lot of the stones that I work with, they bring up like ancient memories. So it's almost like piecing together some of these like memories and stories of
Mm.
Gaia or the earth kind of coming together. Because once we have like awakened these memories and the stories that have kind of been like wiped away from our beliefs, I would say, from a lot of the like mythological stories and all.
Welcome to Conversation for the Soul. I'm Linda Christine. Today I talk with Anna Kyleah, and oh my gosh, this woman is a sweet little gem from the woods up in the mountains. She's like a little fairy that came in to teach all of us about all these amazing plants and elixirs and healing modalities. And she shares all of that with us today. She talks about what we can learn from the rocks and the trees and how we can show reverence for the forest when we go in and interact with its beautiful healing powers. She even talks about what her kids are teaching her about the forest and the woods. And if you're a nature lover and you want to get more holistic and you are also seeking some healing in your life, this is the episode for you. So, with that, I'm going to ask you to please like, share, and subscribe. This is how we get the word spread about these wonderful people that come on and share their stories with us. These stories are so beautiful teachers and they are great for healing us. And I appreciate you all for being here. So, we will get started with Anna Kyleah today. Here we go. Welcome, Anna. So good to have you here. I appreciate you joining
Mhm.
us today.
Yes, thank you.
So, I was very intrigued by your Facebook profile. You remind me of a little pixie or a fairy with all your beautiful photos that you post from the woods and the flowers and the essences that you create. I just love that.
It's kind of my thing.
I love it. I love it. How did your
Uh-huh.
thing come to be?
Yeah.
Is this part of your awakening process? And how did that awakening process start for you?
That's an interesting journey. I would say that it's always been my thing. So as a child, I was outside a lot. I grew up in the country and I would like lay in fields of clover and like talk to the plants and I collected stones. Even I would go to like little museums and stuff with my grandma, and she would take me in the gift shop and be like, okay, you can choose one thing. And I would always choose rocks at the gift
Oh,
store. So I had my stone collection that I still have that my kids go through and look at and play with a lot. And I remember playing with my stones and like getting them out, talking to them. I had this relationship with my stones and with like the plants and also as a child I was just living this and now as an adult I do have like flashbacks, I guess you could say, like flashback memories into like seeing energies and talking to nature spirits and all of this as a child.
mm,
And so really my thing that I'm doing now is something I've always done, and the awakening part into it becoming my like my work, I would say, is the journey of what has brought it into me sharing that with others and being like brave enough and open enough to talk about it and talk about nature spirits and the other world and energies and what I like to refer to all of that kind of under this umbrella of the invisible realm
mm.
that to many is not invisible, and it's becoming more and more into our like integrated physical realm as more and more people believe and see and experience these like supernatural or invisible parts of reality. Yeah.
I can totally
Yeah.
relate to that. I was a child that was always outdoors, always never
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be inside. And now that's my connection place is out in the woods, in the forest, and just
Mm-hmm.
being amongst all of that. I
Yeah.
love that you talk with the rocks. What kind, and of course, my cat has to come in here now because he
Oh,
must be
my cat might
feeling
come
your
too. My cat
energy.
loves to come in on these types of
He
things.
always likes to be a part of the conversation. So,
Uh-huh.
what do the rocks share with you? Have you
Ooh.
gleaned any information from them as far as what's happening with Gaia or what's going on, or what did they share?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So for me, when I'm working with the stones and, speaking with them, it's very like each stone has a different message, like a different perspective, I would even say, like a different story. And a lot of the stones that I work with, they bring up like ancient memories. So it's almost like piecing together some of these like memories and stories of
Mm,
Gaia or the earth kind of coming together. Because once we have like awakened these memories and the stories that have kind of been like wiped away from our beliefs, I would say, from a lot of the like mythological stories and
wow.
all. Once that is all kind of like pieced together, and so the crystals can really help us to piece that information together, as well as the trajectory of the future as well.
Mm,
So those like possible potential stories, and I'm using the word stories a lot, which is interesting. And really, it's like this information is what the stones bring to us because they hold these light codes, and this light is information. And so, yeah, the stones they bring in, like, I think the most important thing I want to say about it is how individual each stone's message is, and that it is um, like a relationship
mm,
in with the stone. And so each person even will receive a different message from the stone. Just like when I'm talking to you, I hear, different parts of yourself that you're sharing. Whereas when someone else is talking to you, something else will kind of come up and be expressed when we're
mm-hmm.
in our conversations with human beings. And so the stones are kind of like that too, where
Mm.
they'll have like different little pieces to share with each person.
Oh, that's so neat. What
Yeah.
is there one that stands out for you that shared something like either from the past or a potential that could present itself that really was just like wow for you?
Yeah. So something that just came to me that I'll share, and it has more of a personal connotation to it, like it's a very personal story to me, is I was working with this one of my favorite stones, and I wish I have it nearby. It's um pink Danbarite,
Mm.
and it's just a beautiful crystal. I actually want to, it's like right here. I want to get
Yeah,
it real
go
quick.
grab it. I'd love to see it.
Okay. It's this twin crystal, and it
Ooh.
it looks really clear, but it has a tint of pink, and so it looks a little like quartz, but it
Mm-hmm.
has a different way of forming. And so if you look real closely, if you had it in your hand, you'd be able to see that it forms in this different pattern than the like six-pointed quartz crystal. Danbarite, I intuitively feel holds this number 10
Mm.
energetically within it. So this is one of my favorite stones. And years ago, when I was sitting in meditation with this stone, it brought in, for one, my grandfather came in and he had passed
Mm.
on. And so he came in and he was showing me how he was connected to my soul's work and was helping me from the spirit realm. And then I went into these memories of dreams that I had as a child where there was a white dolphin that would come and visit me in my dreams. And this was over and over again. This dolphin would come. I named her Sarah, and she would teach me how to play. And she would swim with me through the ocean in my dreams and like teach me how to still be that like fun, playful child. And this was when I was a child. I needed that reminding and that help to um, just keep me in that playfulness. And so with this stone, with Danbarite, when I was sitting with this one, it awakened the memories of these dreams of this playfulness and of this dolphin and like reminded me of those parts of myself. And so now I can hold this stone to, remind me of that playfulness and feel that like dolphin energy
Mm.
and the memories of my childhood
Oh,
in
that
that
is so
way.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring up play because I've had a couple readings with clients lately, and the message for them was play. And as
Uh-huh.
adults, we just forget that we should be enjoying all of this that's been given to us
It's
and having
hard.
fun with it and trying to
Yeah.
look at things with a child's eyes.
Yeah. It's hard because there's so much that is placed upon us with society and
Yeah.
how our culture is and the modern world and all that we have. It's been ingrained that we're expected to do. And a lot of it is kind of silly stuff,
Yeah.
just like busy work and school.
Yeah. Oh, God forbid you're just laying around in the morning, just kind of just
Hmm.
being because,
Hmm.
the program of productivity has been drilled in us for so long. But, that's important, just as important as play is.
Hmm. Hmm.
So tell me about some of your adventures in the woods. Do you work with the Fae? And I've always heard you have to be a little careful with them because they can be mischievous or even worse. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah. That's in a lot of the trickiness and the trickster energy are have a lot to do with reminding humans to pay attention
Mm.
and to honor and to walk and be in the forest with purpose and intention. I don't experience that trickster energy too much. I feel as though, so what my experience has been when I enter into the woods, especially, so I have 4 acres of woods behind my house that is on my property. And so I'm in those woods almost every day, kind of breathing that in. And then I have certain places that I like to visit over and over again that I have formed a special connection with. And these places in particular that I go on a regular basis, I feel as though, it's a really good practice to ask permission before you enter a, a space. You can kind of
Yeah.
sense where the entrance is to a space, especially if there's a trail that's already been created. You can kind of just sense where it is that you are beginning to go in to enter in, and asking permission. And it becomes something that is so second nature. So at first you have to practice it
Yeah.
more with more awareness. And then it becomes so second nature that your energy is just naturally asking permission to enter because you're in that mode of pure respect and
Mm.
reverence. And so upon entering, when I enter into spaces that are like magical forests, I just feel welcomed. I
Yeah.
feel this welcoming from the fae, from the nature spirits. I work a lot with the little people who are called the candomblé as well,
Mm.
and feel, there's a similar thread throughout, like the fae, the elven, like the candomblé, and I don't have a whole lot of answers for like sure answers on all of that, but there is um these particular beings that go, one of the names they are called is the candomblé, and they love being called that. And so I um, like to greet the candomblé when I enter places, and they like jump around and hop around. And the way that I personally have seen them and interacted with them is still very much in like a in the psychic space. So it's different than seeing the like physical trees because many of these beings they still don't feel like it's not time yet for them to come into full physical embodiment again. I'm realizing my computer plugged it in, but it's not charging.
Uh-oh.
I don't want it to go dead. There we go. Okay. And so it took me a long time, actually. And this was part of my journey of awakening because I shut down a lot of my spiritual gifts
Yeah.
during, especially that like middle school, high school period.
Hmm.
And then I began to reopen those channels and reawaken that, especially with the experience of hallucinogens, of
Oh,
plant
okay.
medicines really started to open those channels again for me. And then I had to integrate that into my normal daily life. And I learned that because I had this, I remember when I was younger, and I'm kind of weaving through,
No, it's fine.
but I remember when I was around like 18, 19, I read the entire Carlos Castaneda book series. I don't know
Mm.
if you're familiar with
No, I'm not.
those books. They're about this shaman in, I think it's Mexico. It's a long time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Mexico. And it's this author who wrote this series of books about his journey being an apprentice to a shaman and the teachings that he went through, the experiences he went through to awaken to his, spiritual sight, his spiritual powers. And so I read these books when I was around that like 18, 19 age and had this deep, deep yearning activated in me to be a seer,
Oh,
to
wow.
see the spirit realm. It was just like this deep yearning that had had awakened in me. And I was like, I that's where I want to be one day. But it always felt, or at the time, it felt like that was never possible for me. It was just kind of like a dream, like a something I wanted but wouldn't obtain. And so, along the years, I'm working with the plants, working with the earth, and then I start just realizing that I am seeing things. It's just in this different um like dimensional way. It's interesting to explain, and you might even know what I'm talking about. I'm not even sure exactly what you do.
No, I
But
kind of do because that's what happens to me in the woods. I can feel
mm-hmm.
presence there of certain beings, but
Uh-huh.
I don't see them.
Yeah.
But in my mind's eye, I can see them.
Yeah, yeah. And so that is what my journey took me on, realizing that I actually was seeing things. I just wasn't trusting what
Yeah.
I was seeing or thinking that it was real in any way. And so now I'm in a space where I feel more embodied in my medicine and my gifts. And when I do enter the woods, these beings come out, and it's not like, for me at least, it's not like they're like in a kids movie or something where you're seeing a fairy
Yeah.
or seeing like a gnome or something like that. It's a little different. It's a little still kind of like they're in and out, and showing me things and moving things around, like moving colors and light
Yeah.
and energy, and I can like feel them and hear them and see them, but it's in this like other dimension. So it's still here, it's still
Mm-hmm.
existing, but it's just not fully like in the physical
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
And so then back to your question that you just asked and what I was speaking on before about entering the forest and feeling very welcomed, and just that feeling of uh, like I belong here, I am wanted, like I am loved and welcomed. And for a lot of my life, that has been one of my struggles. And I think many humans struggle with this, but feeling unimportant,
Yeah.
feeling, as though I don't belong here and that I don't know, what my place is and what value I have to add. And so going into the forest for me um, is very, very healing in that way of
Mm.
reminding me and just like a full body feeling and knowing that, oh, I do belong here. I am welcomed. I am loved. And I
Yeah.
do, add value to this world. And
The
so the fae and the candomblé and the nature spirits, it's almost like they come out to remind me that, and their presence just like magnifies then my presence in the forest, and it's this kind of celebration. Mm-hmm.
and then there's the trees.
Oh, I love
The
the trees.
trees that are so magical. Like the ones in my forest are like antenna, and they will actually help me pull
Yeah.
in channeled messages, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And then once I had an experience with a tree where I put my hand on it and I got like this split-second film strip of everything the tree had ever seen. Like in a
Yeah.
nanosecond of a nanosecond, just this
Mm-hmm.
whole,
Mm-hmm.
like I couldn't even decipher most of it, but I saw it all, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense. This is like my ongoing daily experience with, nature and the world, and you probably as well. And that's something because there's so much information that can come through when we're interacting with these other dimensions and like kind of multi dimensions. So there's just so much coming through at one time that we are, and I say we as in humans,
Yeah.
are in a process of expanding our consciousness to be able to hold more of that. And so right now we can receive and kind of understand in a way what we just experienced and what came through, but it's still fleeting.
Yeah.
And we can explain some of it, and we can feel as though we are comprehending some of it, but we know that it's so much more.
Mm.
And that we are in this practice of learning how to hold more and more.
What kinds of things do the trees share with you?
They love to show me all the pathways of connection,
Mm.
and especially, and you brought this up too, the connection between the stars and the earth, because the trees are these like great connectors
Mm.
between the stars and the earth, the heaven and the earth that so many talk about now. And so the trees are almost like this like neural network that is connecting the heavens and the earth, and like receiving the light from the constellations to come down and almost like feed through the mycelium networks through the earth. And so it's um, this exchange that the trees are doing for us. Like they are holding, they're almost like anchoring in consciousness onto earth. And it's almost as if it's the light that is fertilizing the earth.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
And then there's all the individual messages that like the individual trees that I work with share, but overall, in a generalized sense, that is when I'm just like feeling into the trees um, around me. That's what they share.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you brought up plant medicine earlier, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on what can we learn consciously from plant medicine? What kind of plant medicine? And what are some of the cons that we should be wary of when
Mm-hmm.
working with plant
Mm-hmm.
medicine?
Well, first, I'm just going to share something that has to do with all plants. So even if you're just working with like nettle or clover or dandelion or something like that, and the plants, they have so much of this etheric and ethereal energy. They can really help us on all levels to process emotions. And like the stones are a little bit more like heady, they're a little bit
Mm.
more in like the mental area. and can be very intensively clearing of thought patterns. And then the plants really, they're like more tender, and they have a lot more visual life to them. The stones have life as well, but it's in a very different way. And so the plants, they do enjoy working as medicine in our bodies, in our beings, to help to almost like dissolve and process all the like emotional blocks that are
Hmm.
within our body. And so that's something that the plants wanted whoever is watching to hear. And then in the sense of plant medicine that is more on the like mind altering, the altered states, and especially it has become very trendy
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, which is not necessarily a bad thing in general, because the things that become trendy are because it is, kind of coming in to spur a quick like evolutionary movement
Yeah.
of change and of consciousness. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. I am an Aquarius by nature. And so when things become trendy, I'm just like, oh no, I don't want anything to do with that. But I do see how it it's almost like more people are ready
Yeah.
to learn how to navigate altered states, and to learn from the wisdom of these other dimensional realms. Now, like all things, it can be abused and can be used immaturely and naively, and I'll say the word ignorantly as well. And honestly, while there are some negative side effects to that, I also wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing, because it's just kind of where we're at as a people. And whatever negative consequences come about is like the lessons that need to be learned. The plants are okay with it. I mean, of course, they prefer humans to have just the, such deep reverence and respect, and be in, ceremony where you are holding just that space for the plants as well. So it's more of an exchange. So it's not just a taking, but you are also giving to the medicine,
Yeah.
to the plant. And I think that is what is missing in a lot of the interactions people have with plant medicine, is that they forget, or they have forgotten, that there needs to be this exchange somehow. And so people are going to have to learn in whatever way that is. And so, that's why a lot of us who have this knowledge are really trying to share and speak on it. And so I had something else I wanted to share on that and see if I remember it. Um, but I do feel as though it is wise, if anyone is interested in experimenting with plant medicines in the more mind altering states, to wait, to not like rush in and seek it out, but just kind of plant a seed of, okay, this is something I'm curious about and interested in. I feel like it would maybe help me because of these reasons. And I'm going to, just kind of hold that as a seed and feel into it and let that grow and become something, rather than just like seeking the next thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the integration process that is very important, to not just um, jump from one ceremony to the other, or especially recreationally, to be just wary of the amount.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely not a quick fix. It's something that
no.
needs to, like you say, we should have reverence for the medicine
Mm-hmm.
and honor it, not just use it recreationally to
Mm-hmm.
just blow off steam or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And um the gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. Hmm. It had to do with something that you just said.
Oh, so the
But
reverence of
mm-hmm,
it.
mm-hmm, mm. Anyway.
It'll come back. It'll come back. So I got this ping as you were talking. The Sasquatch want me to
Ah,
ask you about them. Do you
oh, how
have a
funny.
relationship
I
with Sasquatch?
only a tiny bit. Like I don't personally work with Sasquatch. Um, and it even sounds funny to say that word, the name Sasquatch is such a funny word. But I have had this being, it, all of these beings, many of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but they are multiples. They're like multiplied throughout, so they can be, they're almost like a soul collective that can spread around.
Yeah.
Um, and so I have had clients that Sasquatch comes in and has a presence. And so I have held space for that. And I'm seeing him. Sometimes there's kind of gender um, things that come in and sometimes not. And what I always hear is it shifts and changes as well.
Mm.
Um, but he is here right now and just kind of like I want to say kind of like lumping around, like just there. And it's a big reminder, like the message I'm getting right now is just this reminder of like this kind of living life in this large way, like living life to your fullest in this large way
Mm.
and being big in yourself, but
Yes.
also kind of like keeping to yourself too, like letting other people be their selves and be big as well. And so it's this like teaching of taking up space and not being afraid to show up as who you are, even if you're going to be like this kind of like lumpy, awkward, um, you know, person, and to allow yourself to practice just kind of taking up space, being yourself, but in this way that you're also letting others take up space and be their selves.
Mm.
And we can all just kind of be like big, lumpy, awkward beings together because we're all just figuring it out as we go.
Yeah. Well, there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's so much genuine authenticity in that.
hmm
You know, it's very endearing.
Yeah. And that's the energy of Sasquatch. That's this
Yeah.
energy of like being authentic and endearing. It's not like this scary big monster. It's actually
Yeah.
like I'm just kind of a goofball and just like here and
They do
gonna stomp
seem
around and
seem
maybe
very very
rumble up some
gentle, you
rocks.
know, for as large as they are.
Yes.
Mm, I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Now, if I remember correctly, you have children.
I do. I have three girls, three daughters.
And what do you
hmm
teach them about the woods and about the plants?
Yeah, well, they teach me a lot.
Oh, I
That's for
bet they
sure. They
do.
teach me a lot. And so my kids, the ages are 6, 9, and 12. And ever since my oldest was, just a small baby, um, we were that my kids have just been immersed in nature their whole life. And so they can walk around the yard, they can go in the woods, and they know like what they can put in their mouths, what they can eat. They know what things are called. They climb trees, they, run barefoot through the woods.
Mm,
And they have this knowledge and it's just natural in them because I have been just teaching them like, oh, that's plantain. And this is what you can do with plantain. And it's just been infused into their life since they were born. And so they just know like what plants we can eat and what plants to use for medicine. And I have been giving my children tinctures, plant medicine tinctures since they were tiny babies even.
mm,
And so they know a lot of identification of plants and stones. My kids also, they'll find the craziest things. Like my oldest daughter, especially, she'll just find like a beautiful quartz crystal or like a piece of kyanite in like the most random place when we're not
Oh,
even out
wow.
rock hounding or anything. They'll just kind of find things. And what they teach me the most about are the animals,
Mm.
and they like to explore and find a lot of animal parts. And so we just have so much magic in in the little treasures that we find in nature. And they know how to just be. They know how to just be like in the creek playing. And I mean, all kids to an extent
Yeah.
know this if they're given the opportunity to explore in that way.
So, did they ever talk about seeing the fairies or seeing anything otherworldly, or do they talk about the other worlds that they've maybe come from?
Well, they have done a lot of building fairy houses, and we talk a
Ah,
lot about the other world. And interestingly enough, they are more like, I don't see it. I don't know it. Like they
yeah.
believe, but they don't really see it. And so that has been just kind of like an interesting experience because they listen to me and I share, what I see and all this kind of stuff. There has been times though where each of them has had their own, like my oldest had this time when she was kind of explaining auras of people,
Oh, wow.
and they were like different. The chakras were like different colors than we
Hmm.
are like kind of trained to be fixated that they're really just these stagnant colors. Um, and so there's like little random things like that. But when they're playing in nature, it's almost in like a more of a practical way,
Huh.
like building structures, like um, gathering things to cook or make teas.
Interesting. Maybe they'll be
Yeah,
making potions
yeah.
one day.
They, oh, they've been doing that. They've been making their own potions for quite a while.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's neat.
Yeah,
That's neat.
yeah.
Cool, cool. Now, you had some offering on your Facebook page that had to do with Inner Earth. Tell me a
That's
little
my
bit about
upcoming
that.
program. That's my upcoming program that is still forming some of the details, but it's going to start, I believe, April 20th. So sometime around like mid to end April. And it's a 10-month apprenticeship program. So it is
Mm.
a very, committed journey. And it's for women. And it is going to be exploring and learning how to work with the plants and the stones and the elements as well as medicine. It is going to go into a lot of energy healing techniques and things that I have learned on my own journey, particularly in healing myself. So it has a big focus on learning how to go into yourself and be
Mm.
your own healer. This is what I get really excited to share. And then it's going to weave in this. We're going to be meeting twice a month and it's online, so it's accessible to anyone around the world. We're going to be meeting twice a month, once for a teaching and then once for a ceremony. And so the
Mm.
ceremony part is going to really be taking us deep into the earth, into these like pathways, these caverns into the inner earth, where we are going to be activating within ourselves and within the earth these healing energies, like
Oh,
actually
wow.
activating these healing energies that have been dormant that are going to like rise up and assist in this like stage phase of evolution where we are reactivating. It has a lot to do with the feminine
Yeah.
energies, so
Yeah.
reactivating this feminine essence. And so as students are going on this journey of learning like the practical ways of harvesting, identifying, making medicines, how to learn how to know what you need, when to take it, how to work with stone grids and crystal elixirs, and all of this. We're going to also be learning how to hold space in ceremony to really go into those places of the invisible and bring it a little bit more, bring it a little bit more into the visible, into the real reality. And this is what I believe and foresee is a big step in healing our human nature, our culture that has become so separated from the earth. And it is
Mm,
really bringing alive again these dormant, hidden, you can call them energies, you can call them beings, you can call them essences, that will add to, that will, this is the healing, which is really this, I think of healing as weaving.
yeah.
Healing is like mending and weaving back together. So as we're bringing these energies back into our awareness, and this is an active process of um, inner inner awakening, that also, because we'll connect into the earth and her being. And so, in that way, we are also activating those earth energies to come alive again
Mm,
and be part of that, like weaving back together of nature and human, so that we can be a valuable role and have this purpose in our existence as an embodied physical being on earth to um, to create what some people say the new earth, but really
yeah.
it's just like a more integrated earth, where a more embodied, so where we're embodying the energies that are within us but have been, we've been separated from
Yeah.
in some way.
And coming back to the earth is so important now on so many levels, not just for the healing of the planet and the healing of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but just the lessons and the things we can learn, like the elixirs that you create and the tinctures that you have made for your children to heal them. And knowing and having knowledge of all of those things is such a lost art
Mm-hmm.
that we really need to bring back that into the fold so it becomes more commonplace,
Yeah.
especially when we want to get rid of all these pharmaceuticals that are
Mm-hmm.
doing us more
Mm-hmm.
harm than good. Um, so that's very important. Very
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Well, I will make sure to put all of your information below so everybody can find you and the perfect people will appear for your intensive class that you have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you can share with everybody as to what you have going on?
Well, I have a lot of stuff going on, that's for sure. But the Inner Earth Temple School is my big offering that's coming up. I do have other classes that I teach that are they're self-study classes, and so one of them is on natural birth control. And
Hmm.
so people might want to just click on my website and explore what I have to offer and just see from there. And I do see clients, and I love to work with women, and especially with womb healing and clearing. Yeah.
Yeah, also important, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, it has been a pleasure to chat with you today.
Same with you. I really love the questions you asked me.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I learned a lot, and you are a plethora of knowledge, my dear.
Oh, good. Thank you so
Alrighty.
much.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. We'll see everybody next time. Bye bye.
Bye.